All right, a few weeks ago, I talked about the topic of what is title, and now I am doing the sister video, which is what is escrow. So Washington is a title and escrow state, meaning our title companies are also escrow companies. This is not true for every state, as I have recently found out. For instance, in Idaho, you have a title company to run title and an escrow company to handle all of the money. So who knew? It's so interesting to learn about how states handle real estate transactions differently. In some states, they have attorneys handle closings. Around here, attorneys are only involved if it's a for sale by owner or if something is going wrong. So escrow is a financial arrangement between two parties that then enlist a neutral third party to hold money, paperwork, and assets before a transaction is finalized. Escrow is required to follow mutual written instructions from all parties. Escrow will coordinate with the buyer, seller, and lenders as the middleman to make sure that the buyer and seller uphold their agreement. Their job is to facilitate the successful transfer of ownership from the seller to the buyer. So here's a general outline of what escrow's role is in a transaction from start to finish. They review the purchase and sale agreement for conditions and requirements to close. They establish communication with the buyer's lender. They order and review the preliminary title report and send it to all parties to review. They review liens on the property, including any loans that need to be paid off, property taxes, judgments, or utilities. They confirm the closing date and prepare documents for signing. Then they schedule appointments for the buyer and seller to sign closing documents. Once all documents are signed, they return the loan documents to the lender for review and approval. At this time, they also collect the buyer's funds to close. The lender approves the signed loan to record and sends the funds to escrow. Then escrow sends documents to be recorded in the county records office, and escrow is closed. Once the deal has closed, escrow disperses funds, including the seller's net proceeds, broker commissions, and loan payoffs. Once this is all done, the buyer receives keys from their broker. There are a few things that you need to know if you are heading into a real estate transaction in Washington State. Some common terminology, someone might say, we're opening up escrow. That refers to when an executed or signed around contract is sent to the title company, including the property's address and tax ID. The escrow account is then opened, and then the buyer takes in or wires their earnest money deposit. Contract options in regards to default. If the deal falls apart, we would use a rescission to give escrow written instructions on where to refund the earnest money deposit. Escrow has to follow written instructions. They can't just make a decision based on what they are hearing from agents. Everything has to be in writing for them to do anything. In the contract, buyers get to choose in the case of default, which is like you're walking away with no contingencies. They get to choose whether to forfeit their earnest money or seller's election of remedies. I always recommend that you choose forfeiture of earnest money because who knows how the seller is going to want to elect remedies. If you are buying a $600,000 house and you put down 1% of the purchase price or $6,000 for earnest money, and then you're through all of your contingencies and you just change your mind to the last minute, and you have just lost your earnest money. You know exactly how much money you've lost. If you choose seller's election of remedies, the seller may say that he's damaged in other ways, such as lost time on market, additional mortgage payments, moving costs, or whatever they feel the cost may be. Some people are crazy, and I would just not expose yourself to risk in that way. Who pays for escrow? Per Washington State contracts, seller and buyer shall each pay 1/2 of the escrow fee unless otherwise required by applicable FHA or VA regulations. Taxes for the current year, rent, interest, and lienable HOA dues shall be prorated as of closing. Buyer shall pay buyer's loan costs, including credit report, appraisal charge, and lender's title insurance. Escrow also handles they use the closing funds to satisfy unpaid utility charges on behalf of the seller so that the buyer isn't stuck with the seller's electricity, water, sewer, or other charges. If there is a rent back where the seller keeps possession of the home after closing for a specified period of time, escrow is going to hold back the full rent from the seller's net proceeds and then refund any unused days when giving written notice of the seller giving possession to the buyer and then cutting a check to the buyer for the days that were used. Escrow puts together an estimated settlement statement for both parties, which would show all of the closing costs. Closing costs include the title premium, taxes, notary fees, loan fees, escrow fees, and recording fees. It would also show any concessions or credits from the seller to the buyer. I'm gonna stop myself here because I don't want this video to get so long that you don't wanna watch the whole thing. I have a long resource guide on title and escrow that was provided to me from Chicago Title. If you want to learn more on the topic, I suggest that you use the link down below in the description to reach out to me, and I will get that whole thing over to you.